So John, Saturday could possibly be a massive day for the club if we can get the victory over Halifax at the Royal Smile Stadium. But I want to go back in time, if you will, to 1999. We had a similar sort of game against Yeovil. What are your memories from that day?
Well, I remember it very clearly. Incredible night. Never seen anything like it at Wadden Road before. The official crowd was just over 6,000, 6,150 I think, but everybody knows there was far more people than that in there. It was incredible. I just seem to remember there was like kids sat on the floor next to the pitch. It was an incredible atmosphere. And Cheltenham still had 3 games left afterwards, so it wasn't like the final chance, but there was a real feeling of we want to get it done tonight because we don't want to have to go to Hayes and Northwich needing results. And there were still a few other teams in contention, and Yeovil were a decent team. They turned up with a good following. I remember them letting a flare off during the game underneath the old Wyman's terrace. But it was just such a dramatic night. It's probably up there in my top 2 Cheltenham games of all time. And it's not very often you get to watch your team win a league at home and in such dramatic circumstances. So I remember the atmosphere. I was selling programmes that night before the game, and I think we sold out. There was queues out of the car park. It was a real feeling that the whole town had got behind the club. Cottrell had done an incredible job, and it just came along a lot sooner than everyone expected, really, challenging to get into the Football League, having not even been in the conference 2 years earlier. So it was probably up there with the Rushden game as one of my 2 favourite of all time Cheltenham games.
Can you see, for the fans who maybe weren't there or haven't been fans since then, can you see any similarities to this team, to this sort of scenario, to this club as we are now, as we were back then?
Yeah, the similarities are you've got a manager who is absolutely in control. He's got the complete respect of the players. There's a good little balance between fear and friendship. You know, they like him, but they would never cross him. And I think Cottrell had that. I think that's very important. He used to have a laugh and joke with the players, but once he got into serious mode, the players would sit up and take notice. I think Gary's the same as that. So I suppose it's a very different situation. Gary had to put the team together from nothing. So none of these players have really been at the club for very long, but they've already established themselves as real fan favourites. Whereas the Cottrell team, a lot of those players have been there for 5 or 6 or even more years, and they were all sort of already fan favourites, and that just put the icing on the cake. But I hope some of these players go on to achieve championship this season and other things for the club. It was an older team under Cottrell. There was a lot more experienced pros in there. I know there's a few in this team, but not many of them are going to be playing on Saturday because Aaron Down's injured and Harry Pell suspended. But you got Carl Storer there, and obviously Danny Wright suspended as well. But I think the Cottrell team, there were some up and coming young players, but it was a lot of late 20s, early 30s players. So I'd say that team had more Football League games under their belt. But it's just the characters. When you go back to previous Cheltenham teams that haven't been as successful, there wasn't strong characters in there who will be remembered fondly. This lot, they're not only good players, they're good, positive role models for the club, and they've formed a real close. I know it's easy when you're winning games, but they engage a lot more. They formed a lot better relationship with the fans, and I think the fans identify with this bunch more than they probably have since the John Ward days, and then before that the Cottrell days.
Then, like now, I say we have a chance to win the league, get into the Football League with a win. Can you talk me through the last sort of few minutes of that game back in '99 and the scenes afterwards?
Yeah, I was standing at the then open Prestbury Road terrace, and it was absolutely packed. It was up and down game. Yeovil took the lead, Cheltenham equalised, Grayson, victory put them ahead. Then he gave away a penalty, but decided to punch the ball in the box for some reason. I'm sure you'll be asking him about that. So it was 2-2. They equalised from the penalty, and I think it was about the 97th minute. And Cheltenham had been absolutely bombarding the Yeovil goal. I think Tony Pennick in goal had pulled off some unbelievable saves. I remember one from Grayson, and everyone was thinking it's not quite going to be our night. But we got a free kick in the 97th minute on the right hand side. Keith Knight, who's now Cirencester Town assistant manager, floated one in, and I remember. I've watched it so many times since on camera, but I remember the specific moment because I saw it from the other end. I just remember seeing the ball bounce down into the net, and it just went crazy. And there's a lot of debate, and I think it's brilliant that there's debate over who scored it. It's like one of those great mysteries of Cheltenham Town, because on the night Victory was credited with the goal, and then the next day's Echo, it was down as Victory having scored twice, but Michael Duff's gone down in the record books for scoring the goal. They're both lovely blokes, and they're both decent, honest characters, and I don't think anyone would be lying about it. but they both genuinely think they scored the goal. And Jamie Victory is so laid back, he would never claim it if he didn't genuinely think he scored it. So my theory is that Victory maybe headed Duff's head against the ball, or maybe they both headed the ball. I don't know. I've watched it so many times and tried to freeze frame it and tried to work it out who scored, but it's impossible. Duff's got the official in the record books, but they both got a bit of their head on the ball. They're both great headers of the ball, and those two at fullback were brilliant, and they both got in Team of the Year that year, and both went on to have very good careers. Obviously, Duff's still at Burnley in the Championship now, so it just added to the drama. And Duff was obviously came through the youth ranks, so it was great for him. And I think that. I don't want to put a dampener on things because it would be a great achievement, arguably one of the greatest achievements in Cheltenham's history of Gary Johnson if he could get Cheltenham promoted this year. But because that was the first time we'd ever done it, that's what I'll remember. Like, what the hell is Cheltenham Town doing going to the Football League? Now we sort of feel like we deserve to go back there, and it's an unbelievable achievement. But I think because it was all uncharted territory, then that was the most exciting thing about it. It was the first time that I'd been watching Cheltenham where the whole town had got behind it. And hopefully we'll see that again now.
Yeah, with the dramatic win in the final seconds, the scenes after the game when we knew we'd won the league must have been incredible.
Yeah, everyone piled onto the pitch. I was covered in mud. There was just people just doing Klinsmann dives all over the place. I remember David Norton being lifted up and carried around the pitch, singing songs, and then all the players went up into the stands, drinking champagne, and then there was a big party in the bar afterwards with everybody. I remember going to the cash point to get some money out, and then spending all night in the bar with the players. All the players, and Cottrell were in there. Mark Halliwell interviewed Cottrell in the toilet about his views on all the players, which is quite funny, and that's gone down in history. But I was just a fan then, and it was just great to be able to sit down and chat with these people who just watched achieve something amazing. They were just sitting and chatting and loving football like everyone else. And I think me and James Young left the bar at about 6 o'clock in the morning, and I think I had to work the next day. But I was a student, so didn't really do any work anyway. But it was incredible times, and then I think we went to Hayes on the Saturday, and I think most of the players were still hungover, and we lost 3-2. But it didn't matter; we'd already won the league.
And obviously we're not necessarily the hangovers, but we're hoping for a similar thing on Saturday. But we've got to remember that we're playing a difficult Halifax team and we're fighting for their lives.
Yeah, you've got to be careful, but Cheltenham have already beaten them 7-1. Nothing will be given, but if you could pick, you want to be at home, you want to be against a team at the wrong end of the table. I know they're fighting to stay out of relegation trouble, and they've got a decent manager now, so they probably will be a lot stronger than they were at the Shea when, let's be honest, they were an absolute mess. I think the new manager then, who's since gone, had just taken over, and I think he realised what a big job he had because they were all over the place. But at home, on a Saturday, it would be a great time to do it. I mean, nobody would mind if Cheltenham win the league at Macclesfield or against Lincoln, but it'd be great to do it with a couple of games to spare and at home, and then they could present the trophy against Lincoln like they did against Welling all those years ago.
Well, John, thank you very much for your time. Some great stories in there. Hopefully we'll be creating some more on Saturday.
Yeah. Cheers, George.
Thanks.